I qualified as a pharmacist in 1984, and for the first year I worked in community pharmacy. I realised very quickly that wasn't for me, so I started a career in hospital pharmacy, starting at Alderhay Hospital in Liverpool. It was a great experience, thoroughly enjoyed it, and I really loved being in a clinical environment. I realised I found my home really in the hospital environment, and from there I moved over to Clatterbridge, where I worked for 13 years in a number of roles. I started off as a dispensary manager, and then I moved over into community services. For the bulk of my time at Clatterbridge, I worked with elderly care. I worked on elderly care wards. I was a nursing home inspector, and I also provided a service to the local clinics in the area. One of the contracts I won while I was at Clatterbridge was providing a pharmaceutical service to St John's Hospice. This was a new service. Previous to that, they just had medicines provided to them, but I provided a clinical service. And on the back of this, I developed a following the patient home service, not literally as they left the hospital, but a few days later, because so many patients when they got home couldn't cope with their medicines. I followed them their journey for the next week or two to see if they were struggling at all, were their symptoms still controlled, and there were very small interventions that I made that had quite a big impact on the quality of the short time they had left on the earth. So on the back of this, I put in for a Pharmaceutical Care Award and was fortunate to win in 1996, and I think that's probably the only pharmacy award I've ever won, but I'm very proud of it. After finishing at Clatterbridge, I moved over to Liverpool, back to Liverpool to my roots, and started working in the medicines management team, so still within the NHS. And I spent a really happy 13 years in primary care, working with lots of GP practices, and again, being the clinical lead for elderly people, which has always been an interest of mine. It was a great experience. Lots of lovely people I worked with, lots of patient contact, and an awful lot of meetings and bureaucracy, which was probably the reason in the end that I left that behind in 2013 and set up Ashburton Prescribing with Lynn Garforth, who's my business partner.